Welcome to this new Flight Simulator update movie. It's there, the next world update for Flight Simulator 2020. It's world update number 15, right? And it takes place in the Nordics and in Greenland. Nordics countries and Greenland, I would say, it's a large part, right, which they took under, took under their hands. So it covers Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. Some of those countries were already part of, say, previous world update, but they now touch them a little bit more. And they also now included the Islands as well as Greenland, both self-governing countries within the Kingdom of Denmark. So that's really cool. So they developed the content, right? Or they added content using both big maps, Vexel, Maxer, and Gaia Solutions, as well as Orbix and Ketel Garpestad, which adds, I would say, a lot of point of interest, but also the handcrafted airports. So in total, you will have 90 new handmade point of interest, which is, let's say, amazing amount, which is really cool. Then you've got 10 tin triangulated irregular network cities, which means that they're based on big maps. Although shortly after releasing this update, several people reported some issues about this, and I'm not sure if this is already being fixed because I didn't see any notes on it yesterday or confirmation from Asobo that they fixed it, only that they were looking into it. Likely due to the server load or something, because that's what we see regularly, right? When world updates are being released, let's say, first of all, I would say frames are dropping like crazy because everybody's flying there, and say the sim is stuttering because it's trying to retrieve the data, likely due to server load issues, I think. And then mostly in the days after that, it will, let's say, start to perform better. So that's definitely something which they need to look into. Hopefully, they will include it in this update or in this version of Flight Simulator, and not that you need to wait to the next version of Flight Simulator, which will be released somewhere, hopefully next year, right? Flight Simulator 2024. Then there are 5 handcrafted airports, as well as the broad-based high-resolution geographic updates using significantly enhanced dams, right? The digital elevation models in Iceland, Norway, and in Sweden. And those are, I would say, the updates which are, I would say, kind of, for example, mountains and as well as the fjords, right, of course, in this area are looking more realistic and are more, I would say, coming, I would say, are on the correct altitude. I would say the correct height is probably the better wording. And that's what they enhanced. Then, other than that, they also added the fresh aerial imagery and satellite data across the entire region, right? That's also based on big data. So, if you fly over a city or fly over the countries, you will see that it's more realistic compared to the previous data which was available. So, which point of interest did they include? Of course, some bridges, right? The Tower Bridge, as well as the palaces, the Gruston Palace and Ripe Cathedral, right? So those are mostly the, I would say, areas or the types of buildings or point of interest which they will add. For example, if we go to Finland, you will see also the Greenland's Arctic Station, Eastgrip and Summit Station, Iceland's Knaros Lighthouse, also very popular. In the Norway's Adines Lighthouse, as well as some bridges. So really cool stuff, right? And that's also what you can see here. Then they included the 10 cities, right? Which I just discussed. Those are the photogrammetry cities. At least they were known as the photogrammetry cities. In this case, 5 in Denmark: Aarhus, Copenhagen, Frederikssund, Odense, and Roskilde. For Sweden, Gothenburg, Linköping, Malmö, and Visby. And in Norway, they updated Oslo. In addition to that, they have added, I would say, really cool airports. In this case, the first one is on island, right? It's the Akuri Airport. And then in Norway, they added the Mo Irana Airport. In Sweden, the Kiruna Airport. And in Finland, the Ivalo Airport. As well as the Keto Karpestad created another airport, which is the Leknes Airport. So 2 developers worked on these nice airports, right? So pretty cool to see that those external developers are also involved in that. And I would say you always see Gaia simulations because they're doing a lot of work for Microsoft and Asobo. I would say Keto Garpstad is likely a local developer, which also, say, added some nice airport to Flight Simulator 2020. Here you can see a nice lighthouse. So what's being added besides that? well, 4 discovery flights, 3 landing challenges, and 3 bush trips. But for that, we're going to have a look at Flight Simulator itself, right? Because we're going to install the world update as we speak. Uh, Good thing is it's always free, right? So free sounds like music in the ears, right? So you can say enjoy this nice scenery, which I'm just scrolling quickly over some screenshots in Flight Simulator itself by installing the world update. And to do that, you simply need to start Flight Simulator, right? So once installed, you will likely see a pop-up here with the number 1, which mentioned that you need to install some content. So if you go to the content, you will see that in this case, Nordics needs to be updated, but also several other ones. But those are likely not the updates which you are looking for. If you want to install the world update, you need to go to the marketplace because that's where the real world update is. And if we look here, you can see it's free, it's a new release, and it's also being released together with the Saab B717A, which is, I would say, I think it's the local hero, if I'm correct. And you can also buy it against, I would say, pretty nice price, right? So if you love flying, say an older aircraft used in World War One or Two, then have a look at this one. But for now, we're going to look at the world update. So it's, in this case, will take 16.4 gigabyte of disk space. So keep that in mind. Especially if you're, let's say, playing it on the Xbox, you might already be, I would say, out of disk space because there's so much world updates and Flight Simulator itself is also pretty large, which could be, I would say, a challenge, right? So you have two options. Either you can get it, then you will simply, between brackets, buy it, or you can say get and download. If you press get and download, well, you know what's going to happen, right? It will start buying it, and then once it's on that, it will start downloading it. You can see it's 7.6 gigabytes, so it will take a while. Hopefully, it will now go a little bit quicker, right? So normally, when these updates are being released, the first, well, at least evening, it's so slow. In this case, it might go a little bit faster. But for now, I will pause the video recording, and then I will return once the world update has been installed. So after a lot of waiting and installing some additional updates, we're there, right? So we installed all the updates, and one of the things which I observed was, if you go to the downloads page, right, which I showed you earlier, there were also updates for some other world updates, including, of course, the Nordics. So it looks like that world update number 15 is, let's say, updating some parts of the countries, but also the Nordics world update package is being updated, which makes sense, right? Because we just looked at it and we saw that, I would say, countries which were covered by the Nordics were also updated as part of world update number 15. So it looks like that world update number 15 is an update for the world update for the Nordics, as well as some new content, which is being made available by Asobo. So let's have a look at the world map, right? Because that likely shows us where all the nice stuff has been added. You can see it's already night, right? Currently. But if you would concentrate on these parts right here, we whoop, zoom in here. This is where I would say we find a lot of updates, right? You can all see the exclamation marks. Those are the updates which have been added. Those are mostly the points which have been added. Also, if we move over to, let's say, the rest of the countries, right? Sweden, Norway, and Finland, we do see a lot of exclamation marks as well as over here. Although I do thought that one was already there. Here we see Iceland, right, which also has been updated. As part of that, also a lot of exclamation marks over here. Although there's also could be, let's say, points which were already there, but the ones which I didn't visit yet. So a lot of cool stuff in world update number 15. Now, if we go back to the world map and go to the activities, we will also likely see a lot of new things. So first have a look at the discovery flights, right? Discovery flights, if you go to the world updates, then likely we will see some new stuff. There is also some old stuff which I didn't do yet. But if we move down the list, let's check if we see something nice. And here we see Gothenburg, which is there, Bergen is there, Reykjavik is there. So those are likely the new ones which they have added as part of this nice world update. Uh, so if you click on them, right, you can fly those regions In this case, using the Cessna 172, right, you can fly over Gothenburg, which is updated as part of World Update number 15. So pretty cool. Going back to the activities, the next section is of course the landing challenges, because the landing challenges have also been updated. Again, here you will see a lot of landing challenges which I didn't try yet, but likely if we move down the list, we will find some new ones which they have also been added as part of World Update number 15. Although it's always a, let's say, matter of searching, right? Because in some cases it's not described pretty well where they have been added. If we see Sweden here, but I do think that this one was already there, as well as this one, Rona, that was also already there, if I'm correct. So I don't see a lot of new things here. So let's move to the next category, which is Epic, and see if we find some new things. You've got Distributor. I do think that this one is, well, it was already part of the Nordics one, as well as Svalbard, which is also part of the Nordics one. So let's see if we can find the other ones which have been added. Here we can see Akeby, the glider port. That one is definitely new. This one, Rosvoll, also looks new. It's in Norway, right? We overlooked it. Do we see some other stuff being added here in that region? Not really, right? So in the Epic one, there are at least a few new items over there. Now, if we go to the strong winds, so the strong winds are the most changing ones, right? Because as the name already says, there's a strong wind. Do we see some new stuff being added here? We see a lot of cool things, right? I still need to try a lot of them. But I don't think there's one here being added, to be honest, because all those are different regions of the world, right? So likely not, I would say, well, maybe Vasa, although I think that Vasa was already part of the original update, but not 100% sure about that. Now, if we go down the list, we see that we can't scroll any further down. So landing challenges, a few new ones, but not too many. Then if we go to the bush trips, we will also find a lot of cool things. We will find several ones which were already there, right? But I think Discover Denmark might be new, although I'm not 100% sure. We have Discover Finland. We've got Discover Iceland and Norway, as well as Sweden. Although I do think that some of them might have already been part of the previous world update, which is the Norway update. If we scroll down the list, we will find some other stuff. Let's see if we find some stuff which is in that area. Go down the list and look very closely, right? Because you overlook a lot when you scroll very fast. But I do think that those are the ones which they have been added, right? Well, the Greenland exploration could be one, because Greenland is also updated. So it could also be one which they have added. So enough to, I'd say, start playing around with, right? A lot of cool things which they have added to Flight Simulator 2020 as part of that World Update number 15, which is now available for download. And if you want to fly using, I would say, a local hero, then you might also consider to buy the Saab B17A, which also has been released. Here ends this video where we looked at what's included in this world update, as well as how to install it, as well as, okay, hey, if you install it, what's the effect on Flight Simulator, right? Where can you find the individual items? Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.